2, 1, go.
Okay, so today is 24th July, and it's one of those forcing function days because tomorrow onwards the space will be given out for rent. So this current version of the offline installation slash, as a friend of mine recently put it, like it's too much of a luxury that you have a separate house for your brain, because people talk about house for your body, and then you could also have a house for your brain. So this entire space kind of acted like that. So, because earlier I used to think this is for other people to get the concept better, but eventually you realize that everything you do for others is what you do for yourself. So this is more like me trying to arrive at the math of whatever we were trying to do. So this current thing is put up into 9 separate segments. என்னடா சொன்னியா? Oh, okay. So 9 different segments. So the first one was on the wall of the Internet of Value, the door, where it's more about the author's journey or the person behind the idea. And this is the second, or the journey of the person, why I was named Moses and whatnot. And then this is the journey of the idea, which is second segment, where we are essentially saying the idea started with all you see here are speech bubbles, because that's one way to concise the timeline. It need not be just so what goes on particular time, right? So June 2017, have you heard of Bitcoin? All you up to October 2nd, where we talk about community capitalism kind of overthrowing crony capitalism. Now so that was the second segment. So first is journey of the person, then journey of the idea, then we had the gratitude wall. So basically this is to show that it's not one person's idea, it's a collection of all these people's thoughts that has been put into the world in whatever format, text, videos and whatnot. It has a mix of people all the way from Bharadiyar, who is a Tamil poet, to Jordan Peterson, then talking about Kundalini and serpent power. Then you can think about, from a tech side, Nandan Nilekani, network state, then George Collin. It's a bunch of things apart from obviously my family and friends and myself eventually. So then we have the this installation. So this is where we started with state of the world. So if you see, it says 23, but now we are in 25 July. So it's the current state of the world, all the way from AI-induced unemployment, which in turn leads to identity crisis. Basically the steeple framework to look at the current state of the world. And then we are looking at what are the current fixes by the state, market and institutions. Then we say, can we trust them? Then we say, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us, but the question is they equals us equals I. Then a very philosophical take of what is this I? We can, either look at it as a wave function between nothing and everything, or just anything in between. From a mathematical standpoint. So that finishes the fourth segment, which is framing and contextualizing the problem. Then we have framing and contextualizing the solution, where we go into depths of what's a better way to represent from a system standpoint. So this identity wave function at an individual is fine, but when we are interacting with the system, you have to talk about what's the identity of that, which is nothing but transactions of our time that the system is capturing through various mechanisms like state, market and whatnot, right? So we go into evolution of such identities. If that identity has to move, we have to understand the frictions. So we can remove the frictions, thereby increase the acceleration of movement of identity, which is nothing but people. Then we say, is it gig economy? Better solution is community economy, but we'll come to that. But then we go at an ideal way of looking at an individual, and then all the way up to bringing that whole thing along with the saying that you can't be peak on your own, so you have to be part of a collective. Now that could be a community, is the new institution that we are forming. So state, market and community, but this should get enough financial and political power, otherwise you cannot break the cronyism. So then also the community has a role at the macro level, but at an individual level it is validating the skills. Then we bring it down to individuals 24 hours. We say transactions of value exchange is fine, UPI, Ethereum, Bitcoin. So it is as frictionless as possible. But can we look at individual or labor movement as frictionless as possible? For that, 24-hour log is important. Then we go into these variables of value capture, well-being and community, because the time, if you can consciously log it and start tracking for your well-being in terms of physiology, emotions, feelings, thoughts, habits and performance is a time within one particular organization. In our case it could be a community. Within that you are either learning, earning or community building itself. So this finishes at a word level. So right now I'm speaking in English, which is made of certain words, and bringing it down to the most bare minimum 15 words possible. But from here, it has to be abstracted into symbols, which is where those things come in. Infinity for well-being, this round with 3 dots in between for SAO commons, and value capture as a VC. Once that symbolic nature came in from words to symbols, the next step is to convert these symbols into variables, because then it becomes even more universal. So it's not just a philosophy through words, but through variables. Can you break it up, ma?
The philosophy.
So, because philosophy is nothing but logic of words, and once we abstract it into symbols, and from symbols into variables, then it becomes the math. So that was the next segment. Then we wanted to show it as to how people will interact with that is just through any voice-based input, where they just say, hey, today from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I slept, my sleep score is 86, here is a data that you can pull from my smartwatch API, right? Then, so then that gets quantified, the time slot, and then that goes into the respective community so that their valuation increases. From there, the whole internet of values valuation increases. To make it happen, so we have set up few holding company. The for-profit arm would be Community Venture Studio. The non-profit arm would be the Internet of Value Foundation. And within Community Venture Studio, we will kickstart these 2 communities. So that is to say, okay, it makes sense at a word level, it makes sense at a math level. Now, how will it like really scale into the world, or how will this idea proliferate? Then we bring to the least action that a person can take in an environment like this, which is the sensitization zone, where we give them a bunch of forms for them to understand their identity and their well-being score as well. So that is the current state of the Internet of Values, this installation, which is also, like someone said, it's a home for my brain. Thank you.